welcome to Author Showcase of Oshkosh, a show where we talk to local authors around Wisconsin and get their story and maybe get a little advice on how to be a great writer. We're also on YouTube. You can look for us there. Spread the word for those people that don't have the basic access channel. My name is Tom Cannon. I'm author of several books, including Shattered and No More Ugly Girls. And I just wanted to mention that I host a spoken word night right here in Oshkosh. It's at NAMI Oshkosh. It's held at the first Tuesday of each month. So please stop down and check it out. It's open to the public, and we'd like to see everybody there.
All right, today we are here with Raquel Durden. Raquel is a combat veteran, cancer survivor, and thriver, as well as a holistic wellness leader. She's the co-founder of the nonprofit organization Humble Warrior Wellness and Yoga Incorporated.
Okay. Hi, Raquel. You're the author of the new book. It's from the Wisconsin publisher Freshwater Press, and your name of your book is Dial Down: Holistic Strategies to Move from Chaos to Calm. So please tell us a little bit about yourself and the genesis of this book.
All right, happy to. Well, I wear many titles, but the most recent one that I'm just tickled with is published author. This is really a dream come true, and some people will say, well, how long did it take you to write the book? And I'll say 3 years, but really it's a lifetime of work.
Yes.
So I think most significantly, I'm a retired combat military veteran, U.S. Army retired lieutenant colonel, paratrooper, so a big hooah, airborne to everybody out there.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah.
Thank you. Service definitely runs in families. I'm married to a 5-time combat veteran to Afghanistan, and our son is also a combat veteran, so it runs in families. After the military, tried on a couple things because you have this mindset of, hey, when I retire, I'm gonna. So I did a little contracting, taught college, did a few triathlons, and then boom, I was diagnosed with cancer, advanced stage cancer that was linked to my combat deployment. So they call it presumptive. And then it was like, whoa, pump the brakes. And
do you have to prove that, or?
No, I actually got a call saying, hey, were you stationed in these areas? And they left it very vague so that I answered, and they're like, okay, yes, that's an area. So I thank the VA for keeping track of people and where they deploy and doing things like that. So now I can say advanced stage cancer survivor and thriver, mainly due to holistic strategies. Had a great medical team, but it's
what kind of cancer was it?
It was endometrioid cancer, which is a type of uterine cancer, which is very rare for my background. So that was like clue number one that something was going on.
Yeah.
And I always say, ladies, get all your checks, but sometimes even the checks don't determine it. So I was very thankful to catch it when I did.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So these were strategies that you had already knew about, were using, or did you kind of, I need something, and so you went to exploring it and investigating and researching?
That is a great question, because I personally thought I was living kind of a healthy lifestyle. I'm a competitive athlete. I lived near a lake. I was just always enjoying the outdoors. But I really needed to get serious about it and very evidence-based. So I retired as a military intelligence analyst, and that really helped me find quality research, because there's so much information, disinformation, misinformation out there. So I started going to what should I be doing for this particular ailment? And I kind of leaned into some things that I was already doing, but then I learned a whole bunch of new things. And I was like, I want my medical team to do what they can do, but I want to be active in my recovery. And I felt very comforted. I felt like I had a degree of control by applying some of these strategies.
Do you want to tell us about some of the strategies, or?
Sure. So I like to say your well-being is way up here, and it's propped up by 2 pillars. And the first pillar is so important, and we're all COVID survivors, so we know that, but it's connections.
Sure.
Connections to big groups, connections to small groups, and I would love to get into that. And then over here is wellness strategies. And it's not a one-size-fits-all world. you might have a little hitch in your giddy up or a bum knee or you might be allergic to mornings. I don't know.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of pick what works for you. And what really worked for me was whole food and mostly plant-based eating.
Oh, wow.
Yoga and breath work. It was meditation and breath work actually helped me dial down probably the most, because when you have a cancer diagnosis, it tends to be the first thing you think about when you wake up.
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah.
the last thing you think about when you go to bed. So meditation would allow me to kind of clear my mind, turn inward, and think about all the other things. And then surprisingly, because I didn't like it at first, I kind of fought it, journaling. And now I journal all the time,
Yeah.
especially gratitude journaling. Journaling helps you pick up patterns, pattern analysis. I felt. Why is every Monday like this? Well, because what did I do on the weekend? So that was very helpful. And then I kind of opened the aperture to intentionally connecting with the outdoors. Because you can be outside and not be grounded. You can be outside and it might be a polluted environment and might be actually cleaner air indoors. So I had to learn about intentionality with that, and then constant prayer. And I'm Christian and I practice prayer and I was raised praying, but there's so many more prayers out there. There's breath prayers, praying for others, prayers of lamentation. It really kind of helps. So you kind of weave them all together and you have a strategy now. You have this is my recipe for living.
Yeah, and so you're just kind of connecting, like making sure the body and your head are connected, right? I'm not an expert, but I'm just a big believer in that. Like if you have the flu, you're going to kind of be foggy and kind of, other times, if you have a lot of worries and you're stressed out, then you will get sick. So
cortisol levels are surging and right.
Yep. So you went through this and you found it very beneficial, and then so you wanted to write the book to help, I suppose, beginning with veterans, but everybody, right?
Well, at first it worked really well for me, and when I started going to my follow-up appointments, they're like, "Well, what medicines are you on?" And I'm like, "None." Oh, wow. And the nurse would be like, "What medicine should you be taking?" And I'm like, "None." And they're like, so even my medical team was very curious. And, and what I didn't know, because it was kind of discovery learning on my own, these are considered like complementary care, alternative care. And then
what does that mean?
Something you can do alongside of your more Western, like surgery or chemotherapy or counseling or something like that. So at first, I just shared with whoever asked, and a lot of people asked. People are ready to make change when I call it the 3 Ds, disease, diagnosis, or disaster.
Absolutely.
Then they get real serious about change. Yep. And I was starting to get kind of fatigued, like repeating myself, reliving all these things. And someone said, maybe you should just share this on a bigger platform. And I did initially in a little retreat. I advertised it on a private veteran Facebook page for women, and it filled up in 4 hours.
Oh, wow.
So that told me
there's a need,
yeah, demand, supply, demand. Yeah. And so I shared it, and I thought I was done. I'm like, that's it. I paid it forward. I'm walking out of here, right? And that wasn't it. That was a little tap. I believe it was a God moment. And he's like, you're going to do this. And that started the nonprofit. Well, a nonprofit, almost a decade in, and a lot of people wanted a deeper dive. I had them for an hour for a class, 4 hours for a workshop. Retreat was between a day or 3 days. And so someone was like, you should write a book. And I was like, no. And then I was doing some contract work with like corporate clients. And my partner was like, you're not always available. Do you have a book? And I was like, ooh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then by the time the third one came around, I was in a little writers group for poetry. So there's a little poetry in the book too.
Yeah.
And a great group of ladies are like, I think you should write a book. And I was like, why do you say that? And they go, people who are really passionate or really good at something, like write good books. And they kind of thought there was both. And I was like, well, maybe I'll give it a try.
Why not?
So that was kind of my COVID project. And I definitely want to help all people, kind of, but that's kind of generic. But like that type A busy person, the helper, the caregiver, the firefighter, veteran, law enforcement, nurses during COVID, those people that have to stay busy. And they can't choose to not come in. You know, they have to face whatever chaos is in front of them. And I just had a heart for that. So that's why I interviewed those type of folks.
Yes.
And I want the readers to think, if it works for this really super intense population, it's going to work for me.
Absolutely, and that's what I liked about it. I mean, if you're going to give people advice, use these techniques, it's good to have examples.
Yeah.
So those are great examples in the book.
Thank you.
But also, you get to hear about these heroic people. It's just an
Yes.
interesting story. Their stories are interesting.
So I have a wonderful friend. Her name is Bev Diener. She was actually my English high school teacher, and now she runs a cute little bookstore. And she said, you know, people are kind of voyeuristic. They like to peek into the life of a character or a profession. And I actually wrote these stories of chaos to calm, and we had some test readers, and that's all new to me as well. And it's really fun working with test readers. And they're like, describe more of their chaos. You know what a swift water rescue firefighter is, but we don't. You know what a drill sergeant or a combat veteran on a joint operation is, but we don't. So I had to go back and really flesh out and explain. And at first I was like, oh no, I had to go back and bug these people. Like I have to re-interview them, but they loved it. And their chaos was just under the brim. I mean, they did not have to think real hard about it. It was there. And I'm like, this is a group of people I want to make sure that they can tap calmness regularly, but also on demand, on demand.
When I was reading through, I was just shocked that these people were the front line. I mean, they were in there. And I read a lot of these types of books. And I'm always kind of like, oh, who's this guy? Is she a PhD? Is he? But this is the real stuff. And I think if people read this, it's very impactful. I think they're really going to feel it in the feels.
Definitely. It was my favorite part of the book, doing the interviews. And I just realized so many people face this chaos. And we don't want to not face it. We don't want to avoid it or fix it. I say in the book, we want to navigate it. I think of the football player who went to all the practice and made the varsity team, and then they're sitting on the bench. Most people want to get in there and play. But then they have to be able to keep it together, and as soon as the action is over, they need to like come back into that rest and digest kind of nervous system. And that's kind of what I thought. Like I'm going to really reach and try and find some people that have faced some chaos, and kind of recently, so people can, maybe they're like, oh, I saw it on the news, and now I'm hearing from that guy or gal.
And speaking of that, with your personal narratives, you kind of have a format for that. The chaos with the backstory, the anchor, and then the calm. And I think that works very well. Like, how did you develop that, and what do you think is important about that?
So I wrote what I do. So I've been working with a lot of veterans, small groups, maybe 2 or 3 people, up to like groups of 50. And it's a technique that I've cultivated through all of my holistic certifications, and I'm seeing good results. And then when I check in with them, it's enduring. It's not like, oh, it worked for a little bit, but now I can't tap into that. It's like, no, thank you for that. You understood me better and you helped me, and I can explain it to my family now or something. But I want to give credit where it belongs. Great editing. So I want to thank Tara Huck, because she goes, I love these storyboards. I really love them. And, I mean, all of Freshwater Press did. I was very thankful they picked it. But she said, I think we need to pull it out. And so she's the one that kind of went nuts. So walk me through your process. I'm like, well, this is them facing their chaos. And this is how I had them turn inward with this anchor. And then this is how they cultivate calm. And she kind of pulled it out and put it in a little box. And it was like, bing, bing, bing. It was so clear. So I will chalk it up to really good editing. and I thank her for it. When you work with a publisher, the editing is so valuable. I felt like I wrote well, but maybe Yeah, everyone can use a little help in
Oh,
editing,
yeah.
formatting,
She's so
layout.
involved in it.
Yeah, but
It's
yeah,
hard
the-
to see.
The choice of publisher and who's working with you definitely makes an impact,
Yeah.
and help to draw out the good things and, encourage you where you need to.
It helps the reader experience.
Yeah.
I've read a book where the print's too small and
Oh,
you just
yeah.
get fatigued, or wait a minute, now I have to, what am I doing here? Flip, 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 flip. So, I was very thankful for that framework.
Excellent. And maybe you can give an example of what somebody's anchor is. in the story.
Okay. Well, let's just.
Or you could read a short selection if you prefer.
Let me see. Well, we have one, nurses. We all have that in common here, right?
Yes.
And we're all COVID survivors. So this particular nurse had incredible hustle. Her name was Pam, and after she shared her chaos using the grounding anchor and turning it calm, I walk her through this poem structure. It's actually a didactic cinquain, which is kind of a fancy, sexy name for a 5-line poem. And the modern version, you can take some liberties with it. So I had her think of, what is that grounding anchor? A grounding anchor is a visual representation of a real place. That's how I used it. Some people say real or imagine. No, your body knows. It can go, oh, I remember how I felt. I remember the smell. I remember how relaxed I was. But it's that visual representation of a place where you feel centered, grounded, safe, secure, relaxed. And for her, it was when she was around family. She's like, my family's, they're not her patients. It was her bubble, her safe. And then the second line, she writes, supportive and homey. And then the third line has to show action, right? It's coming alive, rocking, welcoming, relaxing. And then a short little prose, always the same home. Her family has a little mountain home up and they escape to. They get out of the hustle. And then the last line is like a synonym for what she led with. Like, is her anchor really family or is it an emotion? Usually it's some kind of emotion. And it was love. So that word love becomes Pam's mantra. And a mantra is a very special word or a little phrase that has, it can be used standalone, like an intention, like a one-word prayer. It can be used alongside a meditation. And in this case, by her repetitively saying it and saying it and saying it, she could actually return to that visual image, that visual anchor she had.
So you use that when you're in chaos.
Yeah.
When things are falling apart. Okay,
or immediately after, where like she had certain procedures she knew by muscle memory. Nurses practice that. And then when she had the 15 minutes to turn over the OR, she could do these breathing practices. She could use that word to just kind of dial down. So that's kind of neat.
Absolutely. I actually wrote down the things you'll find in this book.
Okay.
Personal narratives, personal experience, I guess is the same thing.
Yeah.
Spiritual guidance, poetry, mantras, and recipes.
You gotta have recipes, right? You don't talk about all this wonderful food and then leave me hanging. So yeah, I have some sample menus like, hey, try this on for the 3 meals and a couple snacks you eat. But then I also put in a quinoa harvest that kind of just packs a punch of alkaline and protein and good fiber. And we had it at our book launch.
Nice.
Yeah, so it went over well. There wasn't leftovers. Where is it? I'll take it home.
And so I'd just like to give you read out some terms from the book and maybe just give us the first thing that comes to your mind from them. First one, forest bathing.
I love saying forest bathing has nothing to do with taking a shower or a bath outside. I think some people might be disappointed.
Yeah.
There's Dixie going, oh. So forest bathing is a Japanese concept called Shinrin-yoku. And basically it's immersing yourself in a natural environment like a forest. Immersing yourself. And some people don't have access to that. So maybe for them it's a city park, but hopefully you have access to, a national park, a forest, a trail, or something like that. And getting out there and kind of unplugging. Some people like the earbuds. We're like, okay, that might add to your experience, but try it without them as well. And kick up some of the plants, the flora, and get the microbes going, and plants release these microscopic particles that actually help build our immunity. And all of a sudden people will start noticing like their mood is elevated or perhaps changed. Their blood pressure drops, their immunity perks up, and maybe they sleep really well that night.
Yeah.
So
Another term would be like ecotherapy, but I like your term better.
Or just biotherapy.
Yeah,
Yeah, kind of bio, but we really want to like be in that outdoor space.
We're doing what a bath does, relaxes you, rejuvenates you. Next word, anchor.
So anchor is that visual representation of a place that is real to you, that you just feel like super calm, relaxed, centered, where you can kind of exhale. So you might think of one right now, like where's a place where you just feel like totally content, you're a human being and not a human doing. For me, sometimes it's like I have this favorite place out on the Manitowoc Lake shore where the breakwater lighthouse is, and I can just gaze at that and kind of get lost in the water, and it looks different all the time. My anchor changes through life.
Oh, it does, okay.
During my treatment, like bed was associated with like I might not get out of it.
Yeah.
So I like to sit in this blue recliner, and it was like cozy, but I was alert and I had things to do and read and crafts and stuff. So your anchor can change, but I really want you to like think about it and pick it and have it be a place that your body knows, that your senses can pick up on. And then, because then when you return to it, we're hoping that you feel those same feels.
And now, we already touched on it, but next word, connections.
Connections. So connections are so important. And I think after, living through COVID and being isolated and seeing the effect on mental health, we all know that. But I took a deeper dive on that and interviewed some incredible people. Dr. Amy Stevens is a clinician, Navy veteran, my good friend, and she helped me like kind of guided where I looked for this. So you have large groups and you have small groups, and a lot of people are like, oh, small groups are my jam, like I like small groups, but they both serve purposes. So a large group can give you identity. Like if I said, hey, I'm a veteran, that has meaning.
Yeah.
But if I say, hey, I'm an Army veteran, that's different than an Air Force veteran. My sister's Air Force, so I can kind of joke a little bit. But there's maybe a physicality that people think about, like with Army, and maybe an intellect when they think about Air Force or something like that. But it can also give you anonymity. So think of these like mega churches or Lambeau Field, right? A Packer game. You can have all the swag on, and then you just pop in and sit in your seat, and the Packers don't know you. You can have fun and you feel connected and a sense of belonging, but there's no pressure on you.
Right.
You're not the quarterback. You don't have to sell anything or do anything. So you have the large group connection. But then small groups, really, that's where you can have trust and transparency, and that's where relationships happen. So kind of having the combination of large groups and small groups, you have that connection, you have that community, and it affects you physically, mentally, spiritually.
Wow.
Yes. And another interesting point you had in the book was that women, veterans, not identify it, but they're harder to identify because men who are veterans will wear the cap, wear the vest and stuff like that. So kind of hidden almost.
So when I joined, it was less than, I think it was 7% of military officers were women. Enlisted numbers were a little higher, but now it's almost 26%. So it is getting to be more common. But that's while you're serving. But on the veteran side, you're right. I don't have a hat. They call it a campaign hat, like utmost respect for that, Vietnam veterans in their campaign, or Saudi or Afghanistan or Iraq, or the big T-shirt, with a tank on it. I really, I don't have a single one in my wardrobe.
You could pull it off, though, I think.
Yeah, and then, well, thank you. And then even in a community, I do a monthly meetup, and I call it like the greater area. And even when we advertise it a lot, we might pull in 8 or 10 women. where if you would advertise that, you get a lot more of the men. And I think it becomes like part of who we are and what we did, but we don't wear it so openly. And then that's one thing my nonprofit does, Humble Warrior Wellness and Yoga. We help women identify as veterans. Like the word just, I cross that out when they go, oh, I just did a tour. No, you raised your hand and took an oath to serve your country and pay for it potentially with your life. So please don't say just. And then I partner with other great nonprofits like She Served, where they photograph women and get their story in the service. But the focus is really like, how did that experience help you out of the service? So it's really forward looking, and that's Martina Schmidt and her crew. It's just fantastic. So we're helping women come into their own identity of, yes, I served and I'm proud of it, and I'd do it again.
And maybe we should be looking for those people that don't wear a cap.
Well, and I shared that my husband and I were military spouses, and I can't tell you the number of times I just fire and forget. I don't hold on to grudges. That's part of dialing down. But the number of times I'm invited to an event and they're like, they reach to my husband like, oh, you must be the veteran. And he's like, well, I am, but she's your guest, or she's your speaker, and he's my biggest cheerleader. But we shouldn't assume that. We shouldn't assume that.
I worked with a woman who, and this was at Boys and Girls Club, and one day she had just had it with these little kids, and she was like, you're gonna do this. And she like turned into a drill instructor, and I was like, military? And she goes, Marine. And I'm telling you.
She just tapped the energy. I love it.
She did, man.
It's there. See, it's there.
Yeah.
It's part of you.
Definitely.
Just a couple more terms. I want to have you talk about small, meaningful steps.
Small, meaningful steps. Yeah, I think sometimes the adult learning model. We see something and we want to do it. We want to be so good at it. And I think of a kid, if they see something that's interesting or kind of cool, they'll just jump into it. And that, it might break, it might be a mess, they might be wearing it on their shirt. But like adults, we want to be good at it all of a sudden. True. Or if a little is good, a lot is better. Let's take it to the extreme, So small, meaningful steps, from my experience and working with hundreds, over 1,000, veterans, is small steps, big changes. Small steps are more enduring. They just become part of you. There's a lot of studies out there, like after 24, 25, 28, the literature always changes. You can develop a habit, good or bad.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So these small steps. And then I also notice people don't want you to take away something they like, even if it's a vice or a bad habit.
Yeah.
But they're willing to add. They're willing to add something. They're willing to add a little more colorful food. They're willing to add a little relaxation or deep stretching. They're willing to add a walk with their dog. And then pretty soon, it kind of pushes the bad habit out because you don't have room for it anymore. Or now
you'd have to work at it to keep it.
Right, like, whoa, I'm doing all these wonderful things, and this is like not supporting me.
Right.
So small
Incremental steps. Yeah. I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to eat just vegetables and fruits. And that's a big step, and you never get there. But if you're just going to add, replace slowly.
Right.
Yeah. That way.
Yeah.
And the book is written very much with a beginner's mindset. The only chapter I had to totally rewrite was the one on yoga. And I think just because I know so much about it, I kind of lost my voice. I had to go back and go, what was the first time I went into a studio, or how was my first systematic relaxation? How did that feel? Because I want people to think these steps are very accessible. So a big part of it, and you both read it, so I say practice this at home. And if you like it, because choice is important, especially people who serve in a uniform, they give up so much choice. So pick what works for you, practice it at your home, and I tell you exactly how to do things at home. Then maybe you take it out into a community or a small group or a hobby or
even a
bigger
friend.
group.
You can influence people one at a time even.
Yeah.
And the last thing, and this really struck a chord with me, because I write a lot of poetry. I believe in. I teach classes on poetry, and they see that you really delve into people's psyche, and that's where they find their healing by just kind of exploring it with words, kind of like journaling as well. And so I really believe in this, and that is nurturing what is already right within you.
Right. I think we have this resilience. We have these capabilities, and the world, whether it's civilian or military, they keep teaching us how to do more and be more. And your body has a natural intelligence. There is ancient wisdom. You can look. We all love clinical studies and things like that, but 10 years ago, this was good for you, and now it's not, and then it is. But there's this ancient wisdom that has just run through the ages that you just kind of know to do. There's nurture what's in you, all the good things,
right.
the love, the connection, the peace, and adventure. I don't want you just sitting, totally meditated out and, no, I want you to be able to surge into life, but then dial down and come back and live in the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest, digest, breed, and feed. And then if something runs out in the road, surge into it again and then come back. But too many of us are living in this super busy hamster wheel. We're wearing busy as a badge of honor, and that's not natural. That's not the design.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Quote your book, we often mistake constant motion for purpose or value. But perpetual business isn't a mark of success, but rather a response to stress.
Right. It is definitely a stress response. So
stress does bad things to your body, usually.
Yeah. I feel like I loved my military experience. I was definitely a high performer, selected to command at company, task force, detachment, battalion level. But being constantly busy allows you to get a lot done. Makes for great report cards, but it does take a toll on your health, your well-being. And then it took a little while longer to realize, ooh, that's kind of a trauma response. Like if I stay busy, I don't have to think about it. I don't have to reflect on that. And we need to reflect. Reflection's powerful, and that's one of the reasons I included two reflective questions at the end of each chapter.
Yeah.
Because I don't want people to rush through it. Take a time and reflect on it and answer. And my husband and I enjoyed it, reflecting. And I didn't answer correctly. Like I kind of thought of his answer, and I was like, "Ooh, I was off on that." So it was good to discuss.
So where can people pick up your book?
I think it's everywhere.
It's on Amazon.
It's on Amazon, Amazon Kindle. It's on Barnes and Noble. My publisher, Freshwater Press LLC. There's some small bookstores around that have it as well, and then bookshop.org.
Nice.
I'm kind of new to that, but that was really cool to learn that. So they're going to have the book, and then you can support independent bookstores through that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And this copy's mine. I got it all tabbed out.
Yes.
No,
So you're doing a lot of readings and book signings and stuff.
Yeah, we had a big launch, and it was so fun. It was at the Woodland Dunes in Two Rivers, and we were thinking about where should we and the different wellness modalities. I'm like, I want one that is universal, like people can, they probably experienced it. So we went with nature.
Yeah.
And when Tracy Coach suggested Woodland Dunes, my husband and I laughed because we had just spent the whole day there earlier. So we did a big launch there, and then after that, I wanted to be very community-centric, so I did holistic strategies to support bone density at a local YMCA. There's a beautiful pub called Salute to Everyone, and I did that on 9/11 because the Pentagon was my higher headquarters, and I opened up with my story about that. You'll have to read that one, and then and then I mixed it up. Lots of public libraries. I love public libraries. I was raised a reader, and I'm very thankful for that. So just different kind of venues, but I really wanted to echo what I wrote. It's all about community. Let's share this. Let's talk about it. Let's explore it together so people don't feel awkward. They feel safe. They can ask questions. And then, again, even after all of that, I don't assume they're going to do it. I want them to choose. Be a wellness weaver. Pick a few things And instead of just doing it once a week, how can you weave it into your day? And then you're going to start seeing your well-being just magnified.
Yeah. So what do you hope the reader comes away from reading your book?
I kind of have I want them to think like, if these strategies work for professions that face chaos regularly, that it'll work for them. I want them to know that to have the confidence to try, like feel supported, because there's techniques and benefits and templates and things like that. And then I really want them to be a wellness weaver. I just want them to kind of have the mindset like, hey, I've been sitting too long. Maybe I should stand and stretch. Or, hey, you know, I'm feeling a little irritated. Maybe I need to eat some, you know, fresh fruit with some nice fiber in. Or, you know what, I'm really not sleeping. I don't need my device. I like devices. You know, I wear a ring. But I want this to be secondary, just to back up how I feel. I want to wake up and go, how did I sleep? I slept pretty good. And then I check, oh yeah, I have a number to prove it. Not vice versa, like look at the number and then all of a sudden make yourself sick, you know? Like, no.
So is there another book in your future, or what's...
That's been a popular question.
Yeah.
I've kind of bounced around an idea, and I love writing poetry about nature, but I'm not ready to write an entire book on poetry.
Sure.
But through this book, a lot of people have been sharing little nature escapades with me.
Oh.
Harrowing, like trees falling on campers, to
Oh
being
my gosh.
stranded, like when a riverbed flooded
Oh
and
my
they're on a
gosh.
tree limb and kind of found Jesus. To very fun
Yeah.
things.
Oh, yeah.
To very fun things, like a mom forgetting, you know, didn't want to do candles, you know, so they do sparklers outside. Or so I'm thinking I might explore that. And then I always say, like, who would be my audience? And I said, anyone who owns hiking shoes, a backpack, ever tent camper, or tent camped or camped. And then Wisconsin is so nature centric. It's just so beautiful. There's so many places. I think there might be a calling there. We'll
so.
see. Yeah. Unrushed though. Unrushed. This took 3 years. So.
Well, I'm Dixie Jarchow,
And I'm Tom Cannon.
and we were talking to Raquel Durden, and we'd like to thank you for watching Author Showcase.
And thanks for coming, Raquel.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Author Showcase of Oshkosh with your hosts, Dixie Joe Jarchow, Bill Gillard, and Thomas Cannon. We'd love to hear from you, whether you're interested in being a guest on the show, have a question, or want to share your thoughts. Please reach out to us on social media or via email at oshkoshauthorshowcase@gmail.com.